Hello everybody, my name is Mike Tomorrow and I want to welcome you to the latest episode of My Life with Asperger's. Today's topic, I'm going to talk about the other diagnoses that have been placed on me and the other diagnosis that might be placed on you too. Now, having Asperger's syndrome can be rough. It's especially rough on me at times because of the fact that I don't have very good social skills. I do get along with people, yes, but I have a hard time, like, giving them eye contact, and I do things differently. I might do things weird. I might talk about weird. People may think that I talk weird, or people may think I say things weird. You know what I mean? So, I mean, living with Asperger's can be tough enough, you know? But I feel that, yes, if you go to a doctor or a therapist, they might diagnose you with more things, you know? Now, when I went to see the therapist before I did my Disney College program, he diagnosed me with ADHD. You know? ADHD is something I'm still trying to figure out what that is. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. You know, people may think I'm hyper. You know, people may think I'm antsy at times. You know, now I also feel that part of it, well, not part of the ADHD, but part of my personality came from my mom. Because I noticed in her, she gets panic attacks. So, you know, and then I also found out, or I find out from my history here on my family, when I find out about my family and more about it, you know, my grandfather, my grandfather that I never met, because he died when my dad was a kid, so I had no chance to meeting him. You know, he had high blood pressure. He had diabetes, you know. And then my uncle also had high blood pressure. And, you know, he died from a heart attack. You know, stuff like that. I know that things might go on, you know. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my life here. And why am I talking about health problems right now? But anyways, having, like I said, having Asperger's might be hard for me at times. Having ADHD is hard for me too, because you have to learn how to calm down, calm down, calm down. You know, I get, my body and my mind builds up when I feel nervous about something. And like I said earlier in my episodes, I get stressed out too, you know? And if something is loud, if I feel I'm in a tight space, I already dealt with claustrophobia, you know? I already talked about a video about that too. You know, I feel like if I'm in a tight space where there's a lot of people around, I don't feel good. I feel like I want to get out of there, you know? But it's hard for me to work in an environment like that too. If I'm forced to work in an environment like that, it's hard for me. Whereas if I'm on my own, then it's like, do I want to be in an environment like this? Well, I mean, on my time off, I should say. But you know, it's hard for me to live my life knowing that I have Asperger's, but yet somebody else is diagnosing you with something else too. And by doing that, it's like, you know, it's hard for me to do that, you know? It's hard when a doctor tells you you're diagnosed with something else. And you have to live with it. And you have to figure out what the heck that is. When I was diagnosed with Asperger's, it took me about 2 years to figure out it's part of the autism spectrum. I was trying to figure out what is Asperger's, you know, and nobody would tell me. It's like, come on now. And I figure out, and like my mom and some other people said that Albert Einstein had Asperger's, you know, and I'm trying to figure out, why am I in common with Albert Einstein, you know? And then when I saw Asperger's, like when I finally found out what it is and finally connected it with the autism, it was like, okay, I'll figure out what that means and all that. And then when I heard about John Elder Robeson writing this book and talking about it at a local college near my house at the time, I was like, he had Asperger's and he wrote a book about his life. And I was trying to figure out if I could learn anything from him. I have learned things from him too, you know. And then The Amazing Race was on. It featured Zev from Zev and Justin on The Amazing Race. Zev had Asperger's. And I learned a lot from him too. By how he raced. I learned a lot from Zev. I was like, I put myself in that same picture that he was dealing at the time, you know? Like, do I go my life with this? Or do I live my life like this? Or, you know, I was comparing notes, you know, trying to learn myself here. It's very good that I have experiences from other people that have it too. You know, I met a lot of great people in the Asperger's clubs that I belong to, you know, because they helped me out as well. But anyways, back to what I'm saying here about the other diagnosis here. You know, there's other diagnoses that could be set. You know, like for example, I was saying in an earlier episode of My Life with Asperger's that I might have claustrophobic. I might be a claustrophobic. You know, claustrophobia. You know, that is something I'm gonna self-diagnose here with. You know, I'm self-diagnosed with claustrophobia. You know, and it's something I might want to present to a doctor when I go see him the next time. You know, the other thing that I'm presently looking into that I might have is OCD. And OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder, which means it's like you have to wash your hands and, you know, like for example, it's like washing your hands over and over and over again, you know, or it's like hoarding. I'm trying to figure out if this is part of autism, and I'm trying to link that together because my house here is a mess, you know, and I'm trying to figure out, am I hoarding? Am I a hoarder? You know, my house is not clean. My home here is not clean. You know, living with Asperger's can be hard. I'm trying to figure that out. And they say OCD is an anxiety disorder characterized by intrusive thoughts that produce uneasiness, apprehension, whatever, fear or worry by repetitive behaviors aimed at reducing the associated anxiety or by a combination of such obsessions and compulsions. Symptoms of the disorder include excessive excessive washing or cleaning, repeated checking, extreme hoarding, preoccupation with sexual, violent or religious thoughts, aversion to particular numbers, and nervous rituals such as opening and closing a door a certain number of times before entering or leaving a room. These symptoms can be alienating and time-consuming and often cause severe emotional and financial distress. The acts of those who have OCD may appear paranoid and potentially psychotic. However, OCD sufferers generally recognize their obsessions and compulsions as irrational and may become further distressed by this realization. That was the definition there for that guy online. But still, I'm trying to figure that out in my life here. Do I have OCD too? This season of Big Brother, there's a house guest on that show. And he has OCD. And he knows a lot of stuff. And obviously he's the head of household this week too. You may know who I'm talking about. Ian from Big Brother. When I'm watching Big Brother, I'm comparing myself to him because of the OCD, and I'm trying to figure out, do I have this OCD as well because of all the things that I do in my life, and I have the Asperger's, so I'm trying to figure out, are they related in somehow, Originally, when I saw Ian on Big Brother, I was talking to one of my coworkers who also watch Big Brother. Is like, does Ian have what I have? Does Ian have Asperger's? That's what I was trying to figure out. But then when Ian was talking to a fellow house guest last week on the show, Ian brought up OCD. And he told this house guest about how he was living with OCD. So I'm trying to figure out here, am I related to that somehow? Do I have the OCD? That is something I'm going to need to figure out myself too. Because this is something I might have to bring up to a doctor as well. But as I read on about the OCD, it said something about, OCD affects children and adolescents as well as adults. Roughly 1/3 to 1/2 of adults with OCD report a childhood onset of the disorder, suggesting the continuum of anxiety disorders across the lifespan. The phrase obsessive compulsive has become part of the English lexicon and is often used in informal or carcaded manner to, no, I don't know how to say that word. I'm sorry, you skipped that. But anyway, manner to describe someone who is ex, ex, excessive, excessively mentuous, perfectionistic, absorbed, or otherwise fixated. Although these signs are present in OCD, a person who exhibits them do not necessarily have OCD and may instead have obsessive compulsive personality disorder, an autism spectrum disorder, or no clinical condition. Despite the irrational behavior, OCD is sometimes associated with above average intelligence. It suffers commonly shared personality traits such as high attention to detail, avoidance of risk, careful planning, exaggerated sense of responsibility, and a tendency to take time in making decisions. Multiple psychology and biological factors may be involved in causing obsessive compulsive syndromes. Standardized rating scales such as Yale-Brown Obsessive Compulsive Scale can be used to assess the severity of OCD symptoms. So basically what I read is it's a little bit in common with autism and Asperger's, but I'm still wondering to myself, how do I have OCD as well? Am I one day going to be diagnosed with OCD or OCPD? You know? It's difficult to figure out, you know? And there's so many other diagnoses that they can label people as, such as myself. You know? It's hard to figure out the world. It's hard to figure out what do I have and why do I have it, you know? But anyways, I just want to come to the conclusion that whatever is wrong with me in this world, I'm going to figure out what's going to make it right, you know, if I can. And I'm going to figure out what it is in this world that I have. I have Asperger's. I was diagnosed with it back in 2006, up in Springfield, Massachusetts. I have a feeling I have Asperger's. And I was diagnosed with ADHD back in 2008 when I saw the therapist. But the claustrophobia and the OCD, I'm going to figure out down here. I'm going to figure that out when I go visit the doctor next time. Because I need to know, do I have these? Because if I don't have these, then what is the problem with me? Why is it a problem for me? You know? That's the difficulty with my life. I don't know what else I have in me. I don't know what other diagnosis they can diagnose me with, you know? It's hard. And it's also hard to figure out what I have with Asperger's, you know what I mean? So, I'm trying to figure out what is my life and what do I have, you know? So, I'll leave you on that note, and if I figure out what else I have, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, I'm going to talk about my life with Asperger's for now, and hopefully you guys will enjoy watching my videos and learning something from them. I'll talk to you guys all later. Thank you for watching.